Hello, my name's Duncan and welcome to Back Away from the Donkey and BAFTA books. This is actually the second time I recorded this. I recorded this yesterday morning, and in the afternoon I went to quickly do some minor edits, which I normally do, and to get it up for tomorrow evening, yesterday evening, and my iPhone had a bit of a glitch, which I've had occasionally before, which is that basically after a minute everything goes into slow motion. So there was nothing I could do about it. It was me going, hello, I am here. And that's basically probably slower than that. So yes, so I've already tried. So this is Sunday, November the 5th, Sunday-ish evening. Hopefully get this out for this evening, because this is, I wanted to get out before the Read What You Own starts. So this is my pick and mix, which is basically going to be talking about Read What You Own, but there's a couple of bits I'm going to include into it. I've also noticed this week that I've gained about 30 subscribers. To the bigger channels, that may not sound like much, but to me, that's quite an achievement. So for all those who have recently subscribed, hello and thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. For any of those who are robots, I say Gort, Katu, Barada, Nikto. And that should sort that out. So yeah, so first I am going to start with just a book I finished this week. As you know, I'm a pretty slow reader, but this one's taken me about a week and a half to read, but it was really good. I finished Bernard Cornwell's Fools and Mortals, which I actually picked up in a local charity shop a couple of weeks back, and I actually went down to read it, and I really enjoyed this book. Bernard Cornwell, his research is second to none, and it is basically about William Shakespeare's brother Richard, who is down in London working with him, and basically one of Shakespeare's plays gets stolen, which actually is Romeo and Juliet, and initially Richard is accused of it, and then lots of weird stuff happens. But what makes this work so well is obviously the huge amounts of research that's gone into Elizabethan England and how London was at the time, and you just feel like you're in the place. And that's one thing Cornwell is just incredibly good at. So if you want a one-off from Bernard Cornwell to read, I would recommend this, especially if you're interested in acting and plays and things like this, because it's obviously done from that port of call. It's obviously got a love of the theatre. There's a bit in the background, not an epilogue, a afterword, where he says about he started doing some acting and working in a theatre, and that's why he wrote this book. Great book, well worth recommending. So yeah, so that's I would start off with doing that. The other weird thing that I've done this week is I've been watching a few booktube channels, and I've been watching some of the popular fantasy channels. And so let's put it like that. Oh, good God, modern fantasy readers, they're a demanding bunch, aren't they? Sorry, I just saw one video and people saying writers shouldn't do this, they should do this, and they shouldn't do this, and they shouldn't do that. And I thought, surely you let the writers write, and then if you like it, you like it. But yeah, they're a demanding bunch, aren't they? But yeah, for some reason I went down some weird rabbit hole watching some of the bigger sort of fantasy booktubers, and some of them are very good. There's some very good channels out there, some of the bigger ones, but I couldn't watch them all the time because they all seem to go through the same books constantly, and well, that's what it seems like to me anyway, but I could be wrong. So, Read What You Own. I decided to do this year. If you saw, I did a previous video on this, just saying that I was going to be doing it, and I'm going to do 25 books, which to people like Michael K. Vaughan, who's doing 500, doesn't sound like much. But I said I'm a pretty slow reader. Probably get through about one book a week. I do a lot of rereading as well, and those aren't going to count. So my rules of engagement, which I set out in the last video, are basically I'm only counting physical books because I do not read huge amounts on the Kindle. I don't really buy on the Kindle much. I've got a few that I've got on some deals and stuff, but it's not my preferred format. I like big, nice. I like to feel a book in my hands. Feel a book in your hands. That's what I like to do. So it's only going to count on physical books. Rereads won't count, and I'm going to continue rereading stuff because I enjoy to reread. So if I'm doing a reread, that's not going to count for my number. It's got to be a book I haven't read. The other provisos are What's exempt is if somebody gives me books, obviously, anything I get from the library. There may be a chance I may have to get something specific for a video I'm going to do, but I'm hopefully going to be able to avoid that. If I get that, I would obviously declare it. The other proviso is because where I live is quite remote and we have very few charity shops and secondhand book places. So if I wander in one of them and I see something that is incredibly rare, not just like the normal run-of-the-mill stuff that I would pick up to read, I would pick that up, but I would tell you, and I would not read it within this challenge. It is unlikely to happen, but there always is the slim chance that that could happen. And I think that's all my main rules. I said, yeah, physical books is the only thing that's counting. Rereads don't count, even though I will be rereading some books. So all you will see me actually count towards the actual challenge is that. So if I read one book a week that would be applicable to the Read What You Own challenge, that would probably take me about 6 months. The other thing I'm not going to, the whole point of me doing this is I've got books on my shelves and in boxes and stuff I've had for years, some of them even decades. If you saw, there's a video I did on a box of books a friend of mine sent me that ended up being my box of books from 30 years ago. That had some books in there that I want to read. But it's basically for me to discover books I've got on my shelves, and there was a reason I brought them, and hopefully they will be good. Now for this, I had to do a TBR. What, for the first month? I don't normally do TBRs because I just randomly, I would go to decide I'm going to read something and then I will go and read something else. I've had books I thought I was going to read and I wasn't. But I really tried hard and I'm going to try and stick to it. But I'm not guaranteeing anything. So, first of all, I've got some books I'm in the middle of that I want to clear off my plate. So I am going to do that. I've been reading this book of short stories for ages and I just keep dipping in and out of it. So I'm going to try and get that off my plate in the next month. Finish that one. And yesterday's Tomorrow's, which I've shown here before, which is a history of classic British science fiction books in 100 books, which is an excellent book. But I've sort of been slowly reading it since about January. So I want to finish that one off as well, just to get those two out the way. So those will be ongoing through November. And I'm hoping by the end of November I might be able to say I've finished those. And now I've got 4 books here. 3 of them would be applicable to Read What You Own. 1 of them would not. And these are ones that I will be looking at going through in November. I may be adding some books to it. I may not. It all depends how quick I read this month. It all depends how busy I am. They're not the longest of books, so there could be a chance that I might add a couple to them. But I didn't want to pick more than the 4 because I want to give myself room to hopefully clear up the backlog of stuff I've got here. And I've got some comics and a couple of graphic novels I'm reading as well. So this first book does not apply to the Read What You Own challenge, but I wanted to read it. I have been, over the past 2 years, I think, slowly rereading all of Raymond Feist's Rift War books. And I think there's 33 in the whole lot. I'm sort of about halfway through them. I like Raymond Feist. He's got a really nice writing style. And I just haven't read one for quite a few months. So I picked the next one in the order they were published, which is Murder at La Motte, one of the Legends of the ones. This is I've got a hardback copy, but this was a battered paperback that I found in a local charity shop a couple of years back. And I'm going to read that version because I like reading paperback books. And I can't remember huge amounts about this one. I think this is about book 15 or 16, I can't remember. But I just wanted to sort of read another one of those. And the thing with Feist was because it's writing style getting well, I read that quite quickly. So hopefully I can polish that off quite reasonable speed. The one I've already started reading that I started after I'd finished the Bernard Cornwell one, which will be the first one to go into the Read What You Own challenge, is a Robert Heinlein book. Part of the thing this challenge is I've got what is considered like classic books by authors I love that for some reason I've never read. And one of them is this version of Robert Heinlein's Double Star. This won the Hugo in 1956. I've had this old Panther copy I picked up in the late 80s. I think it's just been sat around and I've never read it. So I started reading this yesterday and it's already got me quite intrigued. I said it won the Hugo. Out of sort of the golden age science fiction authors, if you go for the sort of big names of Asimov and Heinlein, Asimov is normally my favourite author. I like more of his stuff than I do Heinlein's. Heinlein can be a bit variable for me sometimes, and sometimes you can get a bit weird. But I do really like Heinlein, so I am starting to enjoy this one. I said double star, and this cover, nice pen for cover, Pamphlet, some great covers. I sometimes get these old books, and as I said in my last video, it'd be nice to see these images when they were newly published. Sorry, it sounds like my voice is going. So yeah, that's the first one I'm reading for the Read What You Own challenge. And the other two books I've got here that will all be part of it. Next one is, unsurprisingly, another science fiction book. Weirdly, it is another classic that I have not read. And this is Brian Aldiss's Hot House. And you're saying, how the hell have you not read this? I've read a lot of Aldiss. I really like him. And for some reason, I've never read Hot House. And I've had this book sat around for quite a long time. So, Read What You Own. It's me discovering books. It is now the time to read Brian Aldiss's Hot House, which I will hopefully read if I stick to this TBR this month. And then the final book is actually a newer book that I picked up. I picked up last year or the year before, secondhand, but it is non-fiction November apparently. So I thought maybe I need to do a non-fiction book. And this is Everest the Hard Way by Chris Bonington, the climber. And this is when he climbed Everest in 1970 something. See if I find out. So I went up to Old Man Hoy, which is near me. This is 1975. So he climbed in 1975, and he went some route that's currently one of the really hardest routes. And what you have to remember is the back end of the 1990s was when Everest and that part of Nepal really opened up and they let everybody and their grandmother climb it, even though it's still incredibly dangerous. So in the 70s, there's very few people that actually climbed Everest compared to nowadays. And I said, Chris Bonington is well known in the UK as well-known mountaineer. And we've got some gorgeous pictures in here. I said I found this locally. And there's quite a few. And I thought, as it's non-fiction November, I thought that could be quite a nice one to slip in. And I keep looking at that on the shelf. I said this is Arrow books as well. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, so those are the... So I've got 3 for the Read What You Own challenge. I'm going to work out how I'm going to tally this up somewhere, where I'm going to do a list somewhere of what books I do on this, because it'd be quite interesting to see what books I do. I'm not going to pick slim books just because they get me through this quicker, because that's just silly as far as I'm concerned. It was quite weird because as with most people on Goodreads and stuff, and when I clicked off doing the Bernard Cornwell book, a thing came up suggesting slim books so you could finish your Goodreads challenge, which I thought sort of defeats the object. You don't pick books by the size, or do you? You know, I only set my Goodreads challenge of roughly what I've read a year since I was about 18, which is about 1 book a week, which is about 50. I put it down as 52 books, which, yeah, I just read what I read. But yeah, I find it weird that you're going to go for slim books or thick books. I've got a couple of really thick books I'm going to try and read for this challenge. May sound like I'm rambling a bit. But the other thing I wanted to drop in about it is, if I get the 25 books and I think, okay, that was pleasant, I've still got a load, I may up it to the next level. I know when I was originally looking at doing this, Greg from another Bibliophile Reads told me that there is an unofficial snowflake level about 12. But I said, for me, the whole of this challenge is about just discovering books that I've got for a reason that I want to read. So that's it. That's my little sort of pick and mix for a Sunday night that should have been out yesterday. And I said it's 5th of November, Guy Fawkes night. There's a little video I put out earlier today about which got one of the original poems from Guy Fawkes night. I'm hoping that we're not going to get many fireworks because my dogs get quite upset, especially little Gizmo, wherever he is. Where is he? He's over there. And I will speak to you all very soon. I've got a few videos. I'm having problems, not motivation-wise, just getting the time into when I'm filming. And I've got a Spider Robinson one I'm hoping to get out early this week. But there'll be other stuff from me. You just sit around and you'll find me. So, thanks very much for watching. And as I said, any bots following, Gort, Clatu, Barada, Nikto. And I will speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.